wait! I'm allergic to adorableness!
Then you're watching the wrong show. I walk away for a couple of weeks and it looks like a controversy has already popped up. It's not as bad as the Daring Don't controversy because it seems to be a lot more one-sided. But, you know me, I'm always looking for a challenge. Oh yeah, that's right. I like this episode. I don't think that it's amazing or one of the best episodes of the show, but it's definitely not one of the worst. Hell, it's not even bad. Before we begin, I'll tackle the boring complaint. There's a reason that I never counter-strike against an episode if I find it boring. There's the off chance that someone else won't find it boring. That being said, you can explain why it's boring. Maybe the story went nowhere, maybe it didn't try to tell a joke, maybe there were concepts that turned you off. I'm not saying that you can't use it as a complaint, just know why you find it boring. Just saying, helps to get your point across. But let's get into the real stuff, the Breezies. From a past episode, we've learned that Fluttershy visited the Preservation of Rare Creatures, which keeps track of the Breezies, telling me that they are endangered. Considering a few later things, that's pretty understandable. With that being said, let's begin. This episode starts with pretty much a reverse of Sonic Rainboom. It kind of works. I like it more for the reference than the humor, and for once Pinky's loud side is totally tolerable. And yes, to save time, she's totally tolerable throughout the whole episode. We gotta talk about more important things. The Pegasi are creating a breeze. Any fears of this being like G3 flushed down the toilet? We get some exposition that tells us that the breeze activates the Breezies' magic, which protects the pollen that they're taking back to their home, I guess. Now personally, I could take this at face value, but since some people want to dig deeper, let's dig deeper. So why are such fragile creatures getting something that requires such an amazing risk? Doesn't nature itself kind of work against that, with animals getting features that help them get the supplies that they need? Sure, in most cases, but that would overlook one important animal, humans. Higher intelligence is weird when it comes to nature. I mean, consider the real-world oil production. We need to dig in real-world environments that we were not designed to be in, like deep underwater, with tools that take advanced engineering to make. Getting the oil is one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet, and yet there are alternatives that are easier and safer to get. So what I'm saying is that I compare these fairy ponies to oil workers, and their pollen to oil. So now that we've actually got this concept grasped, can we please move on to the actual episode? We get a funny joke where Rarity blames Twilight for too much purple on her dress. And the Breezes go flying through Ponyville carrying their pollen. Meanwhile, Spike accidentally releases a leaf, and clearly shows regret for his actions. Yeah, we're not talking about that right now. This leaf separates some of the Breezies from the rest of them. Fluttershy rushes in to save them, and they all gather up next to her. Then we learn that one of the Breezies, named Seabreeze, can speak the pony language.
I know what you're all thinking. Why don't you just say it? I'm sorry.
Why do I feel like this is a reaction to the criticism of Philly Vanilli? But yeah, that's one way to do it. Unfortunately, the Breezies don't want to go just now, and at this point, I have to criticize. Throughout the entire episode, they keep procrastinating going home, despite the fact that there's a large chance that they'll be stuck out of it. And right at face value, you probably notice the problem with that. Now the pollen they're carrying, won't it go bad? Sure, but it's never explained how long it'll take for it to go bad. For all we know, this magic breeze is a refining process that stops it from crumbling like a week later. And why did the Breezies rely on Pegasi wind? I don't know. Maybe because the Pegasi let them. Seabreeze is a bit of an asshole, but oddly enough, I can understand that. I can't understand why no one else is irritated. It's almost like they don't realize they could end up trapped outside of their home. Wait, I think that's a distinct possibility. I mean, why not? People who are saddled with fear tend to do their jobs worse, and on a mission like this, that's the last thing you want.
Where every breezy is like us.
I have no idea what he meant by that. Fluttershy tells them that if they don't go right now, they'll never make it home. Now, if I didn't know any better, I'd say that they outright didn't believe her. Just a thought. Sometime later, the Pegasi check up on Fluttershy, who is letting the Breezies party.
Why are you spending your time on this? I will never get home.
So that's why no one is listening to Seabreeze. He's being a little bit selfish. Seabreeze gets tired of waiting and tries to get home himself, which involves him nearly getting crushed by acorns. Yeah, personally, I don't find that boring, especially when Seabreeze gets stuck in a beehive and nearly gets attacked by a swarm of bees.
Does this bring to mind any images for you? Perhaps a bee?
That was stupid. Then Fluttershy stands up to the bees, and she learns a really good moral, and one that she actually needed to learn. Sometimes you need to be a little tough to be kind. And this is one of the very few times that I could actually stand Fluttershy's assertive side. As most people noticed, it's an improvement on putting your hoof down. Oh, and this ends up being a key episode. Sure, why not? Fluttershy tells the Breezies that they have to leave. Unfortunately, the Pegasi can't get the breeze right enough for the Breezies. And so Twilight has a spell that turns the main six into Breezies. And no one I know likes this moment. I don't like this moment. I don't like it when it happened in a Dog and Pony show, and I don't like it here. Never mind that it's an obvious toy ploy. It's that this spell wasn't established until this very moment. A deus ex machina, if you will. Not to mention that I think it would take more than 6 Breezies to make that much of a difference. I would say that they could just cling to Fluttershy like before, but they do need the breeze for pollen. So they make it to the Breezies' home, the Breezies all unite with their families, Fluttershy gets her key, which is a flower, and the gate closes. Okay, so let's talk about the Breezies. Does the pollen thing make any sense? Personally, I don't care. But since you asked, yeah, it makes plenty of sense. Like I said, us humans use oil, which requires a lot more danger than the Breezies faced in this episode. Hell, we use uranium, which is radioactive. And when we find useful materials on the moon, we'll probably use that too. Why do they rely on the Pegasi? Obviously because the Pegasi let them. My biggest and perhaps my only problem with this episode is that the Breezies don't seem to be in any particular hurry to get home to their families. I know I could probably make plenty of excuses or explanations for that too, but that's not the problem. The problem is that it's really distracting. Other than that, I don't really see the big fuss. It's not a great episode, but it's not a bad one by any stretch. Yeah, I'll stand by that opinion.